Okay. That's the one. Just, it's actually affecting the sound.
Okay, this is not working at all. Unplug that thing. Let's do it like this.
With different microphones? Okay.
And bright, they are dark and sober morning, and they're all so very Let us build a bridge of music, let us cross the song. Let us find another canyon, let us ride another road. What if someone should ask us where we're up and bound today? We will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. What if someone should ask us where we're up and bound today? We will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. We will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way.
Okay, we are back. I didn't mean to do it like that, but it's very hard to manipulate all these things when you're doing this by yourself. Hello, I'm Jeff Bell. We have on the line with us Dennis Carius. Hello, Dennis.
Hey, hi, Ted.
We're gonna hope that this works better. We tried doing it through headsets, and the headsets don't seem to be working for some reason. So, and it doesn't seem that we're getting the right. Something's radically wrong with what we're doing. So we're going to try to get that fixed up. I don't know how to make it work any better, but we're definitely having a problem with our audio for some reason. I'm with you. This is Jeff Beller, and next to me is Susan Comont and Dennis Carius. Dennis, say something. Let's see if it's working.
Okay, this is Dennis.
Okay, that seems to be working.
Dennis, just to see if it's working okay.
Okay, and then with us is Nikola Tesla. Hello, say hello, Nicole. Nicole, would you say hello? Say hello, Nicole. Hi, how are you guys? I'm Nikola Tesla, and you brought me back here from the dead. Okay, now if you can refresh your your Google online, if you go to YouTube Bridges program, Dennis, you should be able to see the program, and hopefully
let us know how the audio
let us know how the audio is. He doesn't hear the audio.
Well, you don't hear us speaking?
If you put your phone on mute, Dennis, and then listen to the show on the live, you should be able to make it work.
And then you can let us know if the audio is working well.
Okay?
No, unfortunately, Dennis right now is having a problem with the audio on the computer, so all I can do is just...
Is that your new computer?
No, sorry.
Why aren't you using your new computer?
Right. Well, we'll have to do a whole show just on that topic later, okay?
Okay, because that's that might be a... Did you use your new computer last week?
Well, I did not go out with the computer and use it out. No, I did not.
No, did you use it on the show last week? Because we had a major problem with the audio last week.
Oh, no, I did not use it last week.
So we don't know what the problem is. See, it's hard to do this because we don't know we don't know where we are, just like the economic system. So we don't know where we're going. anyway, we're going to try to make this work. The point of the program is, the point of our program is, we're trying to promote an idea called the Human Renewable Energy Measure. And Nicole, hello Nicole, how are you? I'm fine, thank you.
We brought Nicole back for a very good reason.
And if you look on your screen, you'll see.
Not just another pretty face.
Right, I'm just not another pretty face over here.
Right.
So anyway, Nicole is here, and you can look at the camera more so people can see you. Now, can you see them on your old computer, Dennis?
Well, let's see. I'm looking right now, and it says these are all different shows for Bridges.
No, just go to YouTube, Bridges Programming Live, and it should be running right now live.
Right, you'll see
Good.
the handsome skeletal Nikola Tesla.
Okay, if you do that now this is brought to you by the HREM.org, Human Renewable Energy Measure, and Renew the Earth. And we're trying very hard to get this technology to work well, and I'm having a big problem with it. So we got to learn more about why we're echoing, if we are echoing. And it seems to be fine.
I think it was crackling this time.
It seems to be fine.
Dennis has a question.
Okay.
Can Dennis ask the question?
Well, yeah, it'd be, if you can ask the question a lot better if you can see what we're doing.
Well, I can see what you're doing. I see Susan, and just to her left, I see Jeff, and to his left, I see Nikola Tesla. He's even got a mustache too.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Very good. You got, and you
Thank
noticed
you.
the bow tie. The bow tie.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
right, and a hat too.
Yes.
I see that.
Right.
Okay, so now the question then remains, is our audio coming out, which we can't tell, but if you could have the audio working on your machine. Now, what may be happening is your audio is working, and when the audio is working, then you don't hear it, but we may be bouncing into that part of the program
Well, then don't have
through your microphone.
Oh.
So you have a microphone on that, but there's no way of. Can you turn off your microphone on your computer?
There is no microphone right now on the computer. Are you hearing me twice?
No, I hear you fine, but I know that when we redo the program, when it's live,
we play it.
It's reverberating. It didn't happen when we were at the bookstore with different people on the bookstore.
And that was with your
laptop. That was with my laptop, so it didn't happen with the laptop, but it's happening at the studio. Well, we're going to have to figure out why. But anyway, so that's the story. We're here. That was Bill Staines with Bridges, and we are using his Bridges song on Bridges Programming with his permission. The object of our programming is in fact to promote a concept that Mr. Tesla, say hello, Tesla. How are you? He just came back from the dead.
Well, he's been dead a long time though.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but you're looking good for, somebody who.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
You're still very dapper.
I got to put your mustache, make sure your mustache stays on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Now.
But what's most important about your coming back is we want you to restate some of your really important ideas about humanity. And we're going to read from your own writings in My Inventions and Other Writings. And this was edited by Samantha Hunt. This
is what you used to look like before we resurrected you. See that?
Yeah, I don't see too much difference though.
Oh,
things are still all right.
You don't have this black hair in here, but okay. You like the way you look? Yeah, I looked good at the time.
Okay. But it's more important what you were thinking about at the time, and that's what we want to resurrect. And I actually, if people don't understand how incredibly interesting your discoveries were, you want me to do a little a quick summary of some of the things that Nikola Tesla thought about and invented? Is that okay with you?
That would,
I'm a little upset because
Okay.
I don't like to be so, I'm sort of not that vain.
Oh, you
know?
don't want to be the center of attention. Yeah. And you're not like Edison was. He was quite a
Right, he was okay, but
self-promoter.
he was a blowhard.
Yeah, blowhard, right? Oh dear. Well, still, we have to remind people how much of their everyday life is affected by the things that you discovered.
The economic
During your
system has
life.
really screwed us up, you know?
Yeah, right. That's still doing that. But you were able to envision, or you would have epiphanies of thought occasionally, and it would lead to inventions like alternating current.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
our every time we switch on the light, we're actually using something that you thought of. And when you were a kid, as the legend goes, you saw a picture of Niagara Falls, and you said, someday I'm gonna harness the energy of Niagara Falls, and you did, and you created generators that are still in use
I did that.
for that. And also then you were at the very, very beginning of radio, and
all the communications
right,
and wise
exactly.
stuff I thought about, and other people, but mainly I was the one who created a lot of this, but there was other people out there. I was friendly with them all.
Right, right. And you were not one who was real concerned about the fame or the money that could come from
no, I
these
just
things.
liked doing stuff.
You liked creating these things, and that's where you got really
But
excited.
I realized there was a measurement about humanity, and that's when it really took effect.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys came up with, another measurement for human beings and how well they can make the system work.
Well, that can make it possible for, actually, we had a question just before we came on the air from Dennis about, what creatures have been doing it better, than human
doing
beings.
it worse, actually.
Or, I mean, are there any other our constraints of what's available here on the planet, our riches or whatever, our natural riches, and actually, the answer to that is, and I thought about it. It came to me while he was asking that question. We haven't been here that long compared to other creatures, living creatures, like the very beginnings with plants and bacteria and viruses. I mean, they've been evolving many more millions of years than we have, and we're rather newcomers to the concepts and the physical challenges of being a species on this planet, and
Right.
surviving in a way that improves as we go into the future, and we leave things for the next generations that'll make
Right.
them even more creative and productive and inventive, and as you are an example of this, and a wonderful example of this kind of life that we hope for every person who's born. And imagine where we could go with that kind of pool of creativity into the future. But that's not happening yet, but it can happen. I believe it can happen. But we haven't even been here evolving that long compared even to and to the turtles and the frogs and the snakes, and they've all been around. Alligators have been around, since the dinosaurs' time. They're still around. Whales, they're much more. They have attuned themselves to nature and to their environment a much longer period than we have, and we're still bumbling along, really, compared to other living creatures and other living entities. Plants, the flora and the fauna, and etc. the ferns, highly evolved mosses, lichens, and things like that, that were some of the first living things on this planet, they're still with us, and they're still doing just fine, thank you very much. And they made their pact and their compromises and their inventions so that it's brought them all the way to be among the living things that are still here today. Of course, our species is impacting adversely a lot of the living things that evolved much more efficiently than we have, but they were affected by the way that we've contaminated environments and stuff. So that's another edge of the coin. We need to try to not be so destructive while we're trying to survive. And there are ways of doing this that involve, we feel that you felt too, Nikola, that it was a very, very important that we focus on the commonality that we have.
Right,
yes,
right.
As a human species, and work to the advantage of our commonalities. And you were expressing it in terms of motion of a mass, and you referred to the human species as a mass, like in the equation of what happens when any physical mass tries to go forward.
You can read my equation.
Right. Okay, I will. That I will do right this minute because I have it here, and give us a chance to comment on that. And here I'm quoting from your words.
I'm going to ask Dennis if he understands my equation.
Here's in your words, all life, and you're referring to the human species, is only a movement to which are the general laws of movement which govern throughout the physical universe must be applicable.
That's physics. You see, that's
right.
Physical is physics. When something is physical, like eating your breakfast, that is physical. It's not like you're thinking about eating your breakfast. You actually are eating your breakfast.
That's exactly, and you need to eat your breakfast. You need to eat food,
right?
In order to have energy, right? And this is one of our commonalities, right? And you even said, Nikola, Mr. Tesla, about the religions state this in their own way, saying, "quote We are all one."
Right. That's amazing. So I've only been dead about 100 years or so, but religion figured this out a long time ago. I don't understand how they did that.
Yeah, it's great. And here's the equation. I'm going to read it off.
By the way, this is Sunday on the front stoop, the longest stoop in the world.
Yeah, it is. It is the longest stoop. It's a virtual stoop, and so it's as long as our imaginations, right?
We have to get From a Distance on here. That's a good song. From a distance, we all look like we're doing everything right, but we're screwing people up. We're killing one another.
And the chorus in that song, it's got a certain irony in it because he says, God is watching us.
God is watching us from a distance.
Man, that's a problem.
And you got to get closer, man, to see
what's really going on.
You got to see the strings that are being pulled, man. You got to watch the strings.
Okay, here.
Now, Dennis, do you see me out here? Do you see me talking?
I think we lost.
Jeff, Dennis can see you out there. Not just Dennis can see Jeff, he can see Susan, and he can see Nicole talking too.
All right.
Okay, do you see my mouth moving or what?
Oh, yes. I see the mouth moving right under his great mustache.
Okay, good. And above his nice bow tie.
I hope people can understand this. This should be, that the soundtrack works, because this is important that we have this measurement, and we're calling it, and now it's a human renewable energy measure.
And renewable energy is similar to what you were expressing about a mass in motion. That's what energy is.
Physical.
It's an energy mass, and we're talking about the human renewable energy, the measure of it, meaning our energy is creating emotion, as you suggested.
Emotion. You see, everything has motion.
A movement, right? Look, he's waving at you. Okay, you're waving at the audience. That's great. I'll read the equation just for those of you whose minds work in a, in that way. It's always good to try to state these things in as many ways as we can. M, capital M, equals all people.
M stands for motion.
No, M stands for all people, human mass. The
Mass, right.
F, a little f, stands for the movement, and which is resisted by a partly frictional and partly negative force, capital R, which retards the movement of the mass. So this is a very simple thing. There is friction when you move anything forward, even through the air. You may not feel the friction against your hand when you move it forward, but there is. And if for some reason someone doesn't want you to move your hand and is pushing against it, that can be what he calls a partly negative force of the resistance. So what you've got,
that's like our dysfunctional government.
Right, could be stopping you from.
It's stopping us from using the dysfunctional economic system to stop us from going forward.
Retarding the movement of the mass. And you feel that there are 3 ways to increase human energy, and we can go over those one after another. I'm sure, and you can speak for yourself about this, but the effect that you wanted for this increase of human energy was that we would be have a more creative and thriving population going into the future. And this population that's moving should be evolving in a more harmony with nature. And correct me if I'm wrong, please. Do you feel that was what you intended?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we need human beings build on the backs of other human beings.
Right, and that's part of what the motion is. We're learning, we are creating things from ideas we pick up from others, and this is a form of motion, because that's translated into activities and our interactions with other people, which then take us to the next generations and the next generations, and for good or for worse, if you're hoping for good, as much good as possible. We can't have, everything isn't going to be a paradise ever, but we want the trend. And you say in your writings that war is one of the most horrendous things that we're doing force. That's retarding the motion forward.
Right, use the same force, energy, to create good, not destruction.
Okay, so the first way that you feel that we can enhance how to increase the human mass, and you feel that food is the first thing to start with, that there should be available.
Food is energy.
Right, healthful, nutritious food in abundance, so that nobody is starving. And you're again reiterating what we're hearing from Pope Francis today in his Care for the Common Home encyclical that anybody can access on the internet if they want to read it. It has to do with.
He did a good job, the Pope.
Yeah, all the things that are, and it is economics. He does specifically say that economics is retarding our motion forward.
We're at war with the economic system.
That's an interesting way to put it. Yeah.
The economic system is killing us. We are at war with today's economic system because it doesn't take into account humanity.
We're and you say in this, it's just not food that's important. Of course, that's the place to start, but that you want always the mass while you're increasing it, and and increasing its what you call velocity, you want that velocity to be, in order to increase velocity, you need to make the quality of what people are eating, what people are being, how they're being educated.
It's like
to
speed.
be, right,
Velocity is speed, and to get speed is to reduce the friction.
right.
Just like if you see a car today, they reduce the friction of the wind so the car can go faster, which increases the velocity.
Right. And that increase in velocity means that people are better educated. That's how you do it. You better educate people. You make available nutritious foods to everyone. Education should be free. You'd say that education is one of the most important things.
That's the key issue in the HREM. Education, food, and shelter for a minimum of life work. That's the key. Education, food, shelter for a minimum of life's work. 1 hour a day from the backs we built on thousands of people's thinking processes to help humanity.
And you say that you caution people about, getting involved in various kinds of addiction. And some of them that you mentioned are like gambling, and in that category would be business, what you call business rush.
Money is the biggest example of
gambling on the stock exchange.
Yes, that's an addiction.
And these things.
Money is an addiction, and we can't seem to get away from it in this society now.
And these things retard velocity, which means velocity meaning our highest and best efforts into the future, our educated and creative efforts into the future. And you of course talk about the obvious addictions of alcohol and things like that. And you say moderation in all things, caffeine, tea, all these things can become smoking. You mentioned these things too, but this is all
not a diet, just eat what you think you should. Your body explains it to you. Your body tells you this. We haven't even learned yet all the things our body can do. It's amazing because our body tells us we're just so stupid as a species. You should hear, what's his name? What's that guy's name? The geodesic dome guy, Tesla,
Mr.
Bucky. I met Bucky here, and he's got the right idea. He says we are stupid. He addresses all these PhDs and says, "Why am I talking to you guys for? You are ignorant people. You haven't got any idea on how much more we have to learn." Bucky was right on, but so is the Pope. Anyway,
there have been many thinkers that have tried to bring into the present these ideas of our commonality so that we can alter the economic system to serve humanity and our coexistence with nature.
Right.
And you mentioned in this piece, this first section about food and education and shelter. You mentioned that very, very important subject of the soil, which we're producing a lot of foods and not distributing them, very well, because there's lots of people starving, and every 5 seconds someone's starving to death, as we speak. And so we're not distributing these resources.
This is not funny if you're one of the people who are starving.
Right. And so you mentioned that soil is such an important thing to understand and enrich and make sure that we tend to and take care of the soil so that they will be fertile and not poisoned by all of our pesticides, because we are right now doing a lot of monocrops just to make profit, not with the goal of feeding the world. That's not our goal. The goal right now in economics is profit from making things scarce in one area and abundant in another area, and not distributing, and the scarcity raises the price, and there's more profit. And if you have too much of it, you destroy the excess.
Bucky hit the nail on the
yeah,
head.
right.
Bucky hit the nail on the head. He said, you've got to, how did he put that? Bucky said that we're living on a spaceship. And
Right, spaceship Earth.
The spaceship, and if we destroy our planets, our planets, soil, water, and atmosphere, we will die on the spaceship.
Right, because we are contained on it. You know, just like you're in the capsule going off and hurtling to the moon or something. You have just what you have in that capsule, and we are contained by an atmosphere that encapsulates us and preserves life on this planet. And it may seem like a large spaceship, but it's still a spaceship.
Right.
Compared to the universe, we are a tiny little speck, but an amazing speck at that.
From a distance, we look like we're doing great, but actually we are pretty much killing each other. We gotta stop that, and we gotta stop poisoning our atmosphere.
Okay. And if there's something, I will go on to the second point that you feel is needs to be addressed if you want to increase velocity of the human species and improve our chances of survival on this planet. I mean, it doesn't mean that the planet is going to disappear if we're not here. It doesn't, that's not what we're talking about. Lots and lots of life forms will continue to evolve on this planet. We're talking about our chances as a species continuing to evolve on this planet. You're saying here that big R in your equation that retards velocity, and that's the second problem, and how to reduce that force, and what is it for the most part, and war is the most powerful of these negative forces, you say.
Yeah.
Tesla, right? You want to comment on that?
War is a way to, oops.
Uh-oh, your jaw has now been...
We're going to have to deal with this.
Okay, now you got to do it with your hand.
Okay, well, war is a way.
Right.
War is a way. I'm going to put a better string on that.
I think it finally wore through.
War is a way. Okay, I'll talk for you. Is that okay, Bucky? Yeah.
No, that's Tesla.
I mean Tesla.
Right.
War is a way of, in fact, making money and stopping humanity from going forward. War is a tool that the very wealthy use to increase their wealth for power and control. Is that right? Just shake your head. Yeah, okay, that's good. So you can just shake your head if you want to do that. So you can just agree with shaking your head, either no or yes.
Yes, right.
Okay, so that's one way we can deal with it. The other problem we're running into is when you say war is nothing more than controlling why do we go to war? And Dennis, I can ask you that question, Dennis. You ready?
Ready.
If we go to war, do we go to war within ourselves, or do we go to war with our neighbors?
With our neighbors, right?
Right, and why would we go to war with the person living across the street?
Wow. That's a good question for Sunday on the front stoop, because when I read the Bible, it says, thou shalt not kill. And it also says, love thy neighbor, too.
Right, so why are we going to war with artificial boundary lines? Because the neighbor lives across the street doesn't make him an enemy. Because someone lives across the ocean doesn't make him an enemy.
And can I elaborate a little bit on that? The
Sure.
way that we're asked, and you and Dennis were discussing this morning, we're on a spherical, planet. And there really is, and we're spinning in space, and there really is no up or down or north or south or east. These are conveniences that we use on this planet while we're here on the ground. To directions are useful and things like that. But in reality, these things are when you think of the whole and looking at the Earth from a distance, you find that these things don't mean a thing. These things of up and down and left and right. Well, left and right. I don't even that wouldn't make any sense.
No, but directions.
But once we need or feel we need these kind of directions, and they're useful here on Earth, we kind of overdid it because we started to then divide populations and areas so that they become unwilling to collaborate or cooperate with each other. They become exclusive unto themselves. And these are artificial constraints on populations. And so that we think that, oh, we don't want to let people come into this country, or people are going to threaten my livelihood if we have refugees or migrants, or these things are constructs of our dividing the continents, which all join together. And Buckminster Fuller made this point. If you flatten, he made a map called his Dymaxion map. If you flatten the globe, you can see how all the continents join each other, and we're actually, the continents form one large island in one ocean, if you can visualize that. And it's very interesting to look up that map and think about
you can find that map online, Dynaxium map by Buckminster Fuller.
Right.
I'm sure it's online somewhere.
And it made quite an impression when he first, Time magazine published a magazine just emphasizing that map, and people could cut it out of the magazine and assemble it in different ways, so that you were looking at all of that continent, which was several, we call them all different continents, but they're joined. You can see how each edge has got a chain or an isthmus that joins to the next one and the next one. There's land joining these continents, so they're not separate. And you can look at it from any angle and get, a completely different impression of how we, our planet. We don't have to think of it as Europe and Asia and Japan and Cambodia, and these are artificial separations that become obstacles to people recognizing the things that are most important, our commonality, so that we can provide through our economics, which is becoming world economics now. And unfortunately, the bad parts of it are being perpetuated. The war, the bad distribution of essential goods like food, shelter, and education.
We're killing people.
We're killing people for profit instead of providing what we need, each of us, when we're born, throughout our lives, to survive and then contribute to the next generation with our lives, all that we are capable of contributing, what our full human potential as each individual can contribute. I mean, if that were happening, if that kind of energy and velocity were happening, that kind of energy and velocity would take us to other solar systems. It would, we would be, that powerful in terms of our creativity, our inventiveness, and it would be one of the most incredible energy sources probably that the universe has experienced.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Pastor.
I got my mouth fixed here.
Oh, good.
So I can talk better.
All right, good. I'm glad.
Okay, now.
Loosened up your jaw again.
Bucky Fuller, which we will I guess you invited him to come back to the show here.
Yeah, we want to speak to him soon.
I spoke to him recently before you pulled me out of the grave. I spoke with him, and he's willing to come back and help talk about Bucky. Mm-hmm. So we're going to bring Bucky back, and a couple of folk singers who talk about the problem. We're going to bring them back too, like Utah Phillips and stuff like that. So that's who we want to bring back. Anyway, that's the point. So you can go on with some more of the readings. I wrote all the stuff down, but I'm pretty old and I forgot a lot of it already.
Well, you emphasize that, apart from natural frictional forces, represented by your R, which is retarding the velocity of the human mass, the creative velocity into the future. The frictional, I guess you could say that something natural and frictional would be, people getting sick, diseases. These are things that we try to solve and make people well, but some things we don't know answers to yet. And those would be frictional things that would destroy people and their lives and impact their families. But you're saying in this chapter, the main thing that you discuss is the retarding the retarding force of war.
Right.
And in your words, nowadays negative forces have become let's see. Yeah, the most important negative force, and then among these you say there is one of far greater moment than any other, is called organized warfare. When we consider the millions of individuals, often the ablest in mind and body, the flower of humanity, who are compelled to a life of inactivity and unproductiveness, the immense sums of money daily required for maintenance of armies and war apparatus, representing ever so much of human energy, all the effort uselessly spent in the production of arms and implements of destruction, the loss of life and the fostering of a barbarous spirit, we were appalled at the inestimable loss of to mankind, which is the existence of these deplorable conditions, unquote.
Right.
And of course, we understand very easily how these young and people are harmed mentally and physically if they survive a war situation and come back to their countries and are all their lives then dealing with their injuries, both mental and physical, and their families. And so this is a huge retarding force to that individual,
Because we get
those
caught up,
families.
we're now upset because we kill people and we come back here and then we have to deal with that emotional problem. So we can't go forward to continue to build with the velocity we need to help humanity.
Yeah, and you tried to solve this. You were imagining that, and you were experimenting a lot toward the end of your life with robotics, and you call it tele-automation or tele-automatons. In other words, they would be controlled remotely, and you.
Right, so we can get rid of conflict using robots.
That's right.
The reality is of getting rid of conflict, we don't need robots. We just have to have an understanding that there are no Democrats.
That we aren't
there are no Republicans
fighting each other over
there are
artificial
no artificial lines. Russians and Germans and Americans.
Mhm.
We're all one people.
Right.
And how do we help humanity? And what's in the way is the economic system.
Right, the economics, based on the goal of profit.
Right.
And profit is an endlessly receding goal into the future that is unraveling all of our natural resources, destroying environments, and to no purpose other than a vanishing point, essentially. We are taking all that energy, as he said, as you expressed in this, what I just read, taking all that energy and using it for nothing. It is being wasted and could have been redirected to a goal that is useful and creative. Survival. First, we have to figure out how have dignified and creative survival of our species, and an understanding of our place within nature that helps us to learn from all of the billions of years of nature's evolving, which has done evolving much longer than anything. The whole life, a miracle that is here. We need to be humble in the face of that, and learn as much as we can, because that is where things have been solved, and beautifully and elegantly. And you went to nature just like Buckminster Fuller went back. He went to nature for his concepts, and he observed very closely, as you did.
It's all about physics. Physics is the key.
What is physical? What is physical? What we can actually identify as real physical occurrences, and try to understand them.
So anyway, we're going to try to get David Borton over here to talk about physics and how important it is. I mean, we all do things that we think is better to help people, like solar panels and human, but we're saying human energy is also physics.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dennis talks about solarized things, right, Dennis?
Oh, right. Solarize is very important. Yes.
Well, that's a form of physics. So we can get a better quality of life without having to support the very wealthy people who run the fossil fuel industry. And that's sort of a cul-de-sac that we can't seem to get out. Of course, we know it's a good thing, but we don't know why. And that's why we like to go to solar panels. But the big guys are controlling the solar panels because physically they're controlling the economic system.
And I read that too. Maybe they were trying to be funny, but it says Big Oil said we'll have solar when they can put a meter on the sun.
Well, they actually have put a meter on the sun. They charge you your labor, which is a form of money. You give us your money, and we'll pay you 10% of what you would normally, or 90% of what you would normally make. However, now they're making a lot of money on their money. So that's how they're putting a meter on the sun. We're still not, we're benefiting, but they are still benefiting much, much more, because most people can't afford to put solar panels on their homes.
But we're in a country where we could afford it, because 58% of our federal taxes goes to our troops overseas.
But
And
that's,
we don't even need, yes,
but
58%.
But you said something else. We're in a country. We're not in a country. We're in an artificial country created by the economic system. We're on a planet that we can all benefit, not just US, whole world. Our planet should have every human being having solar panels, having good quality of life. Africa, Indonesia, France, Germany, Switzerland, and those are the wealthy ones. How about the poor ones like Indonesia, Africa, Syria? Those are the countries, all countries should benefit by it. Get rid of all armies. You don't need an army if you don't have a boundary line. Love thy neighbor, like we talked about doing. That's what we need to do. Don't you agree with that?
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
What if the upper 1%, or the richest, the most powerful 1/10 of 1% in this country wants to become even more rich, right? So instead of putting those solar panels on the roof, they have no meter on the sun, but if they can get oil out of the Middle East and no charge, if they can go over there, take out a democratically elected leader and replace him with a dictator, and then get oil for like almost don't have solar, and that's why right now we still are ruining our world with global warming and climate change?
No, that's not
Wait,
the
I'm
reason.
writing this down. No, okay, guys,
No.
go ahead.
It's because of our economic system. We're allowing those people to do that.
Right, because we use constantly the coal, the liquid fuels, the natural gas, and this is running all of our industry now, from solar power and water power. I think it's less than 1% worldwide, isn't it? Still a very, very small
percentage
of our energy comes
because
from
you
these
and I, and everybody listening to our programming allow that to happen because we don't have the human renewable energy measure. If we can get that out to enough people, that would stop.
And we've already started that.
Yeah, it started, but it's in its infancy still, and even now there's some.
Actually, we haven't started in this country. We're attempting to start it.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as starting it because.
Well, let me just mention though. You mentioned not just food and shelter, but even education.
But the economic
system in high school is free.
No, you're paying for that. Someone's getting a paycheck. Someone's getting paid. You need to have, if it's true.
And we pay taxes, school
taxes.
Right.
If there was no taxes paid, like in poor neighborhoods, let's suppose that you go to Arbor Hill. They don't pay their teachers enough to get teachers who really want to help the kids, or maybe they do, but it doesn't seem like that. That's why people go to Guilderland, to the school districts there. That's why people want to go to losing a hat.
Where they have a tax base that's much more substantial, they have better schools. I mean, that's what this country is
right. That's why people leave areas and put their kids in better school districts. So it's not free. It just appears to be free, and that's the problem. It's all about appearances. The appearances that we're voting someone in who will help somebody else. It's the appearance of that. It's not the actual thing. It's not the physical thing. It's the appearance. It's a magic trick, just like me. We're a magic trick. We have an appearance, and that's the problem. People have to start looking at the reality, not the belief systems, but the reality.
And here's in your own words, Nikola. here's what you say about the reality. Here, quote, I find that 3 possible solutions of the great problem of increasing human energy are answered by 3 words. And these words are food, peace, and work. Then you go on to say, these words sound the keynotes of the Christian religion. Their scientific meaning and purpose are now clear to me. Food, to increase the mass. Peace, to decrease the retarding force. And work, to increase the force accelerating human movement. These are the only 3 solutions which are possible of that great problem. And all of them have one object, one end, namely to increase human energy.
Human energy is what we have. Human energy, and it's renewable. And that's why we're promoting the HREM.
If the goal of our economics was not to increase profit, but to increase human energy, we would have a huge switch in all of our qualities of life worldwide. That would be like there's a word for that which I can't think of right now, but it would be amazing. Let's put it that way. And you're talking about the sun and about renewable energy, and Nikola Tesla went right to that. And you said, whence comes all the motive power? What is the spring that drives it all? We see the oceans rise and fall, the rivers flow, the wind, rain, hail, and snow beat on our windows, the trains and steamers come and go. We hear the rattling noise of carriages, the voices from the street. We feel, smell, taste. We think of all of this, and all this movement, from the surging of the mighty ocean to that subtle movement concerned in our thought, has come from common cause. All this energy emanates from one single center, one single source, the sun.
That's what David says too.
The sun is the spring.
And that's what Bucky says too.
The sun is the spring that drives us all. The sun maintains all human life, supplies all human energy. Another answer we have now found to that great question, to increase the force accelerating human movement means to turn to the uses of man more and more of the sun's energy.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, and this was before we did solar panels, but you were envisioning this as a possibility when you were alive.
And we thought of, and you guys thought of the human renewable energy measure well before you heard of what I was talking about. You found me after the fact. So that's the same thing. We're all moving toward that goal.
And you envisioned it. And so that's a very interesting thing about humanity and about individuals, is that we can see into the future. We can perceive what's possible in the future. And you did, Mr. Tesla. Other people have in the past who have had the opportunity to spend their time contemplating, like Buckminster Fuller and various very lucky individuals have been in a position to spend most of their lives within creative, being creatively inventive, and we're very glad that this has happened, because this is what is keeping us on track as a species. And the more people who are able to do this, the better off we're going to be. That will increase what you call velocity, right?
Right, the velocity of how things move forward to help human beings have a better quality of life and help fix the planet, so we don't keep on messing it up, and work in harmony with nature, in harmony. And that's what it's about. I want to thank you all for listening to me.
Yeah.
And thank you listening to me. And thank you listening to Susan and Dennis. Dennis, I want to thank you very much. You have anything you want to say to close out?
No, Jeff, I just wanted to thank you and thank Susan for this great giving the truth.
How about me?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Nicole, you too. Excellent. Thank you so much.
I'm Nikola Tesla. I'll be back again some other time. And Bucky's going to be resurrected shortly. We've got to make sure our technical work is good. We're going to check it out next show. Thank you all for listening, and please join us on Bridges Programming, Renew the Earth, and of course the HREM, Human Renewable Energy Measure.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Dr. Tesla.
You're welcome, Susan. We'll see you all soon. See you then. Bye now.
Bye.
And we're going to be going.
Jeff is queuing up the music. There it goes.
Neighbors out of work because they closed the factory.
Goodbye, everybody.
It's never quite enough for energy.
Say goodbye. Bye. Bye, guys. Thank you all. Bye.
It all comes down to energy. Fossil fuel
Effects are like ripples on a string.
Cars and factories and trucks. Supplies go down and prices soar, our futures are at stake. And when it's gone, it won't come back, and we'll be out of luck. Oh, energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone. Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy.
We can get our energy from corn and grass and trees. Even trash converts to biofuels. Break loose from the stranglehold of oil companies. Renewables can fuel the world. We're here to spread the news of energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone? Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy.